Hello, cats. Welcome back to another episode of Chat About Tay. I'm your host, Bella. And in this episode, I'm going to be breaking down the End of an Era trailer and discussing what I think is going to be covered in the docuseries. On November 13th, 2025, of course, it's the 13th day of the month, Taylor Swift released the official trailer for the End of an Era docuseries that she's going to be doing on Disney+. The series is going to begin streaming on December 12th, 2025, and it's going to have 6 episodes just going through the Eras Tour, her getting ready for the Eras Tour, rehearsing, having the musical guests, just everything that goes into the Eras Tour and everything that happened during the Eras Tour, she's going to be covering in that documentary. But the trailer that was released yesterday was about 2 minutes long and just showed a lot of different clips and had her voiceover describing, different things about the Eras Tour. And it just gave us a lot of more insight into what is actually going to be covered in there. And first, I want to start off by reading the descriptions from Taylor Nation, and Disney Plus for the trailer, because they all said something different. So Taylor's copy for the trailer on her Instagram page said, "Honestly, I can't think of a better way to celebrate my almost birthday than to relive the Eras Tour with you. This time we're going backstage. The End of an Era, a 6-episode behind-the-scenes docu-series, streams on Disney Plus beginning December 12th. And then she had a heart hands emoji. So that was her description. And then the Taylor Nation description says, "Experience a streaming event for the Eras. Taylor Swift's 6-episode docuseries, The End of an Era, streams exclusively on Disney Plus beginning December 12th. And again, a heart hands emoji." So similar description. And then the Disney Plus description is a little bit longer. "Experience a streaming event for the Eras. Taylor Swift's 6-episode docuseries, The End of an Era, streams exclusively on Disney Plus beginning December 12th. Same thing. The End of an Era is an illuminating docuseries on Disney Plus that gives an intimate look at Taylor's life as her tour made headlines and thrilled fans around the world. In addition, the series features Gracie Abrams, Sabrina Carpenter, Travis Kelce, Ed Sheeran, and Florence Welch, along with her band, dancers, crew, and family members, offering never-before-seen insight into what it took to create a phenomenon. 2 episodes will debut each week beginning December 12th. So that just gives us a little bit more backstory and information about what is going to be covered in the documentary. She's also going to be releasing the entirety of the Eras Tour, a movie with the Tortured Poets Department set. So we're also getting that as well. I do believe that is also coming out on December 12th. So we're going to go through the trailer. I'm kind of going to do this like in the style of one of my favorite YouTubers, New Rock Stars, where they break down each like scene of a trailer. So I think I'm going to do that. There's different like sections of the trailer. So we're just going to lump some things together. So she says in the beginning, "I'm very aware of mysterious forces at play that I will never have control of." So I think that's referring to maybe the Ticketmaster issue, maybe, things going wrong with the Eras Tour, or maybe things going right, or just any forces that might come in that are going to be an issue for her. And so this opening part of the trailer features Taylor getting out of the car in her lover bodysuit, going inside of the cleaning cart that she would hide in, and then it has a video of her inside the cleaning cart. And then the title pops up that says Disney Plus, still having her be wheeled into the stage on the cleaning cart, and it says "an unprecedented look," and then it has a bunch of crowd scenes, behind the scenes, and then it shows just the opening of the Eras Tour with those giant fabric I guess fans, you could call them. And so then it shows her underneath the stage looking at a little message that they had left for her, and it said, "This show created a bonding experience for like 70,000 people all at once." And then she's being lifted up into the stage, and you can hear the crowd screaming. And she said there's something very special about that. And so there are clips throughout the video of her being like interviewed, because if you've ever watched a documentary, those are normally hybrid of like interview shots and then B-roll or video footage of things that were actually happening in relevance to the documentary. So there is like an interview portion of her. She's wearing a black shirt, a little gold necklace, and she has sort of like an orangey lipstick on. Then they show the big reveal of her in the liver bodysuit on stage. There's some clips of her behind the scenes at the tour, maybe like before the tour started. And then there's a little clip of her dancing backstage with her crew. crew, and then just some clips of her on stage and clips of the crowd as well. And then another text comes up that says, experience a 6-episode docuseries. And she said, I came up with the idea for the Eras tour about 2 years before the tour started. And during her saying this, it's just sped up footage of them getting the stage ready, her walking into the empty arena, her on the golf cart, more sticky notes of the surprise songs, and her rehearsing and shaking hands with her dancers. There's going to be a lot of dance rehearsal footage in this as well, which is going to be really, really cool. And then she says, I wanted to overserve the fans in terms of the amount of songs that they were going to hear and how far I was going to push myself. So during that section, she just has some clips of her rehearsing her dances, and then clips of her on stage doing those dances, and just various clips of her throughout the Eras tour. They also show the rehearsal of her jumping through. She has a part in the Eras tour where it looks like she's jumping into a lake, but it's really just like a trap door. So they have a behind the scenes of her jumping in there. They show her behind the scenes underneath the stage, taking off her costume and revealing a different costume underneath. So it's gonna just be kind of like showcasing the chaos as well, which I'm really excited about because I love behind the scenes things, and I actually really love documentaries. I haven't really watched proper documentary in a while, but I love documentaries. I find them really fascinating. I think you can learn so much from them, and so I'm just really mostly excited just to see like the behind the scenes stuff and her like thought process as she was creating the Eras tour. So just more clips of her underneath the stage and showing all of the different contraptions that they have under the stage to like push her and pull her to different parts under the stage. And it's just really cool. I hope that they go into the construction of the underneath of the stage because it's very complex. They show her behind the stage with her guitar as she's walking out, and during the Fearless section, she says, my main goal is to give something to the fans that they didn't expect. And then just more clips of her on stage, one with Ed Sheeran, Gracie Abrams, Florence Welch. And then she says, I'm going to get past a phone and I'll be like, aren't you playing a show right now? And she says, yeah, about that. And that is her conversation with Sabrina Carpenter behind the scenes, preparing how they're going to introduce Sabrina Carpenter on stage, because Sabrina did sing with her during the Eras tour on stage. And there's more clips of her on stage talking into the phone and saying, why aren't you here with us? And Sabrina is underneath the stage on a chair about to be lifted up into the stage, and she says, I'm somewhere where everyone is screaming so loud. So they're doing this little bit. So I'm excited to see more of those conversations of the surprise guests, and you know how they went into creating like little bits before the reveal that they were at the concert. And I'm excited to see those artists also talk about Taylor and the Eras tour. So I think we're going to get a lot of commentary from other people besides Taylor, which I'm also very excited about. So that whole little bit with Sabrina and her coming on stage, and this is when they performed together, and Taylor was wearing an orange dress and Sabrina was wearing white, so obviously showgirl era colors as well. And then there's a clip of Taylor backstage saying, I love having a good secret. So there's just going to be a lot of like behind the scenes stuff like that. And then they're showing her dancers. She says all the dancers, the choreographers, the production designers, the crew, the entire band, every person is the best one in the industry. And during this section, they have just clips of her choreographer showing some dance moves, production designers working on the set, her band, dancers on stage, and then just showing her talking to the camera as well. And then more behind the scenes backstage footage of her dancers and her doing rehearsals. And then one of her dancers says, I've never seen a boss with this much passion about their job. And more behind the scenes footage of Taylor rehearsing her dances, and more clips of her on stage with her dancers as well. And then on screen text says discover the story, with clips of her rehearsing. And then her mother, Andrea Swift, discusses Travis Kelce. So there's a clip of him in the crowd. He said, Travis Kelce, he brings a lot of happiness. Then Taylor says, we basically have the same job. And then Travis says, you've got teammates, I've got teammates. You've got Coach Reed, I've got my mom. And then they're laughing. And so during that section, it's just Taylor behind the scenes watching the Chiefs game backstage, her on the phone with Travis, clips of her mom, and clips of Travis at the concert. They also have some clips of Andrea at the concert and being interviewed as well. And then the next section is the on-screen text says, behind the phenomenon, Taylor goes to discuss a little bit about her thought process with the surprise song. So she says, I'll do the first verse and the first chorus as her discussing the surprise song with Ed Sheeran. And it's a clip of them backstage. Taylor says, this was a seismic, momentous period of time in my life and in the lives of everyone who this tour has touched. And during that, there's just behind the scenes of her different albums for the Taylor's version, her recording things. I'm assuming that's the Taylor's versions and Torture Poets Department. There's clips of the crowd as well. And then there's a video of Travis rehearsing underneath the stage, being lifted up, and then them kissing underneath the stage, and just more clips of her as a child with her grandma, and just showcasing clips of her throughout her career from when she was younger and on different tours as well. And so Taylor says, this was the biggest challenge any of us have ever done. And then more clips of her behind the scenes with her dancers. There's a shot of her watching the Chiefs game, wearing a Chiefs shirt, just hugging her dancers. I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to see like a lot about like Travis as well, because I'm hoping that she'll go into like how she met him. And I know they've discussed that before, but I want to see if there's like more detail of how they met and sort of the courting of each other. And I'm interested to see if her mom and dad and brother might be discussing things as well. I know her mom is already in the trailer, so she's obviously going to be interviewed, but I would like to see her dad and her brother also being interviewed too, because, you know, obviously they were there. I know her dad goes with her on the tours. I think Austin Swift is her brother's name. And so there's just a lot of like behind the scenes clips here, also of Taylor and Travis rehearsing on stage, because during the Torture Poets Department set, during one of the days, she had Travis come on stage dressed in like the costume, and he was performing with her and the other dancers during the Torture Poets Department set, the section before she starts singing I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. So it's just this cool choreography, and all of the video clips that I've seen of that were on like people's phones on TikTok and YouTube. So I'm also just excited to see more high quality footage of the Eras tour, because obviously we have the Eras tour movie that came out. We are going to have the one that's filmed for this docuseries as well, so we're getting more footage like that. But I'm excited just to have some more like high quality clips of her costumes. I'm really hoping they go into the costumes. They don't really talk about that in the trailer here, but I do hope that there's a section about the costumes and just more about the construction of the costumes, and maybe her thought process of why she picked certain costumes and certain colors. I would really like to see that in the documentary, but they don't really seem to be covering that in the trailer, but that might be something that they discuss. And then just more clips of her rehearsing her band. There's a lot of clips of her dressing rooms, which I find really fascinating. So I'm interested to see like more clips of like the dressing rooms too, because we got a little bit of that with the Reputation tour. There was a couple of clips of her behind the stage, but I'm always fascinated to see what people's dressing rooms look like. And in this one shot, you can see there's like a fridge with some Gatorade, some juice, some beer. So it just seems like people are just kind of having fun and chilling backstage. And then there's a clip of her guitarist Amos rehearsing in a shower, which is obviously in the locker room because they're in stadiums. That's where they're doing all of these concerts. Just some more behind the scenes stuff of them getting her costumes ready, just more like logistical things, like moving around different set pieces and stuff. And then she says, and tonight we complete that challenge. And just clips of her with her bandmates, hugging them, all of her bandmates coming up to her and hugging her, and just seem like they're family. And then there's a little clip of her clearly after the show had been done, because she's wearing the Midnight's bodysuit. It looks like she's in a hotel. She's petting one of her cats, and she's hugging her brother after the show and her parents. So they will be in the documentary, but I'm hoping that they're interviewed as well, because I really like her parents and I really like her brother. So I want to hear from them. I want to hear like their telling and their like thoughts about this whole process, because obviously this was like the biggest thing for Taylor. And then she says, for one last time, and her doing a little pep talk with her dancers and everyone in the crew before the show starts. So I'm hoping that we'll get a little bit more behind the scenes on that, because I know for the Speak Now tour that was recorded, they did show a little bit of the pep talk that she did before she went on stage every night. So I'm wondering like what their little ritual was. And then just a ton of clips of her on stage in her different eras and just showing the crowd, showing how, excited everybody is. There's a big group shot here of everybody after the concert wearing all their like Midnight's outfits, and they're all toasting with champagne. And then it just shows Taylor at the end of the concert waving to the crowd, being lowered down under the stage, and it says the end of an era. And then it says exclusive 6-episode docuseries. And then there is the last portion of the trailer is her talking to her mom in the dressing room before the concert. And she says she's basically trying to come up with the surprise songs. So this is what she says. So it goes: New Year's Day, verse and chorus. Manuscript bridge into Long Live Bridge. Into the down verse of Long Live. Into hold on to the memories, they will hold on to you. Into Long Live chorus, but slowed down to half time. New Year's Day chords underneath it into the last verse of the manuscript. And then her mom says, okay, that's complicated. And then Taylor's kind of just like making a funny face. And during that whole section where she's talking all about what I just said, it just shows her backstage with her mom planning this. So she has a piano in front of her. It shows her clips on stage of her playing those songs on the piano and the crowd and people just being really excited about her doing these surprise songs. So there's clearly a lot of planning that goes into this, obviously, but she's so particular and meticulous about the surprise songs and, how things go together, because a lot of her music sounds similar. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that a lot of her songs use the same chords. So it's kind of easy for her to mash up a lot of her music because she does use similar chords. And that is not a dig at her at all. That is a normal thing that a lot of musicians do. There's only a certain number of chords that you can play. So obviously things are going to be repeated. And that makes doing mashups, especially of her own songs, like kind of fun and easy because there are so many things that can go into each other. And she does reuse lyrics, and that's not a dig. That doesn't mean that she reuses lyrics in the sense that she can't think of anything. She'll reference other lyrics, and other artists do that as well. So I'm interested just to see more about the surprise songs, because that whole process, clearly by what I just said with her planning all of that just for the one surprise song, how many nights did she do those surprise song mashups? There was a lot. So, she's planning all of this stuff out, and that's why they had those sticky notes. And it says a 2-episode premiere on December 12th. So that was quite a lot. I do want to go back through the trailer really quick just because we, kind of sped through that a little bit of what was covered. But there are so many clips of her underneath the stage, like I mentioned, backstage in her dressing room, and her, just showing how she got from one section under the stage to the other section of the stage and changed her outfit. I'm interested to see if they have any of that planning for that, because obviously you can't really just say, okay, I'm gonna run over here and take my little overdress off and then I'm gonna wear the other costume. There's clearly a lot of planning and preparation that goes into costume changes. So I want to see if there's anything like that. I really am interested in seeing her talking about the stage design because it is a very interesting shape. It kind of is like a diamond in the middle. So I'm interested to see if she has any behind the scenes of her planning, what the stage is going to look like, and maybe her hiring her dancers as well. I think that would be a cool thing if she features that. I believe that will probably be in there. And so it just seems like this documentary is going to be just really informative, obviously, of everything that went into this tour, but also things that were happening behind the scenes, like with Travis and her writing Torture Poets Department, Life of a Showgirl, releasing her Taylor's versions as well. And I just can't get over how busy this woman is, and that she was able to do this tour, which was clearly strenuous on her body, her vocal cords, everything, her mental health. But she also was actively recording other music while she was on tour. It's just kind of insane. So she is the most busy, hardworking person, I think, in the industry. And I'm just so excited about this documentary. There is one thing that she did not cover in the trailer that I would really like for her to discuss. And this is only if she is legally allowed to discuss this, because I don't know if she is. And that is the Ticketmaster issue. I kind of have a feeling that that is what she was insinuating in the beginning, where she was saying, I'm aware of forces beyond my control, that kind of thing. So I'm just really hoping that she does discuss that if she's allowed to. Again, I don't know if she's legally allowed to. I don't know if there was some NDA or some conversation that was had that she's not allowed to disclose, their business plan with them or the deal that they had. And I don't know if, because there were a lot of lawsuits, I don't know if like part of her compensation for that was like being silent about it. So again, if she is legally allowed to discuss the Ticketmaster situation, which again, we don't know, I would very much like her to address that, because I think that obviously for me, that was a big deal, and it was the reason why I didn't get to go to the concert, and it was the reason why a lot of people didn't get to go to the concert. And a lot of people paid way too much for this concert. And I'm not saying that in the sense that this concert was not worth paying for, because clearly it was. But I think, with the reselling of a lot of the tickets, people overpaid for this concert because she had set prices for this concert. She planned all of that, and that was what the fans were expecting to pay. And then the fans had to pay a lot more. And obviously, this is worth it. If she was playing anywhere that I could have easily gotten to, I was going to pay about $600 to see her, but she wasn't playing anywhere that I could justify going to. She didn't play in DC or Baltimore, so it would have been a bit of a thing to go to the concert. So that's the only reason why I didn't pay a lot of money. But like I said, I would have overpaid for this concert. So I'm just hoping that she does address that. I'm wondering if she will mention anything about her breakup with Joe. I'm not expecting her to. She doesn't have to discuss that, but I'm just interested to see if she does discuss that. And I think what I'm most excited for about this documentary is just like the planning that went into the tour. So the planning with the choreography, the costumes, like I mentioned, the stage design, the sets, how she came up with the set list as well, and coming up with the order of which she had the eras. And in the teaser trailer, they had a couple clips of her in her hotel room after the concert was over, and her taking off her makeup and taking a bath and stuff. I mean, obviously they didn't show her like in the bathtub, but she's like filling up the bath. So I want to see like her nighttime routine, and maybe more stuff of like what she's doing after the concerts ended. And I'm interested to see like what time she has to wake up in the morning, because the concerts are later in the day. So if she doesn't go to bed till like 3 a.m., I can't imagine her waking up until maybe like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But maybe she gets up early because she's got to do a lot of stuff. So again, I am really, really, really looking forward to this documentary. I think this 2-minute trailer gave us everything we need to know, more so than the teaser trailer, which is to be expected. But I just think this is going to be such a cool docuseries. I'm really glad that it's going to be a 6-part series instead of just a like 2-hour movie, because with how long the Eras Tour ran for and how much effort she put into this and how much stuff happened during the Eras Tour, you can't just cover that in like 2 or 3 hours. Like, you need multiple episodes. So I think this is a smart move for her to have it as a series rather than like a film. And I think it's cool that it's also on Disney Plus, because that's where the Eras Tour movie was. And I'm excited to see what comes next for Taylor. Obviously, Life of a Showgirl is out, but she hasn't done any performances. She hasn't really been on any like talk shows other than like the first week of the album release. She did a lot of talk shows and radio interviews when the album was first released, but she hasn't really done anything since then. She hasn't performed any of the songs. She's clearly not going to do a tour for this album. We're not expecting her to do that at all, so she's not going to be touring with it. But I would like to hear her sing some of the songs. I think that would be really cool. There's so many songs on this album that would just be really cool for her to have music videos for, like I mentioned last time. And she did, since my last episode, release all of the acoustic versions of her songs. She was selling all of those on her store, so you could buy them individually. But she recently released all of those acoustic versions on streaming platforms. So she had the Fate of Ophelia, Elizabeth Taylor, Opalite, Eldest Daughter, Ruin the Friendship, Wish List, and The Life of a Showgirl. Those were all like acoustic versions. So those are all available for you to listen to. I listened to them. I thought they were really, really cool. I like when people do acoustic versions of songs, and these were actual like re-recordings of the songs, because sometimes, and she has done this before, sometimes they'll just make an acoustic track or a different like track with the music, and then it's just the exact same vocals as the original song. But this was actually like new recordings of the songs. So I really appreciated that, and I thought those were really good. So if you haven't listened to those, I highly recommend that you go and listen to all of those. My favorite one out of all of those, I really liked the Wish List one. I thought that was really cute because that song is like so fast and stuff, and I liked it being slowed down. And I also liked Opalite too. But they were all really good. But I think my favorite one of all of those was the Wish List acoustic version. So that's it for this episode. I hope you learned a little bit more about about the Taylor Swift documentary, and I hope it inspired you to watch the documentary on December 12th. And I hope that you're enjoying this podcast because I'm enjoying making it. So, like always, stay safe, stay classy, and I'll chat again with you soon. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find us on Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. See you there.